Hello and welcome. This is hashtag Griff Sports. I'm Kyle Ferrara. Alongside me is Brandon Rudd. We hope you've all had as great a week as we have. Just a reminder, as we're only on the air once a week, Thursdays at 6 p.m., you can follow us on Twitter for up-to-the-minute information on all your Golden Griffin teams. The Twitter handle for the show is @GriffSports_19, and the Twitter handles for both myself and Brandon are on the screen as well. Brandon, I like the show we've got lined up today. Tell them what's going to happen.
Well, we got a great show lined up for the people today, as we're going to talk with the sports editor of the Griffin, Lunghino, about Corey Conacher and Griff's hockey.
Also, our own Mary Kessler had a chance to talk with hockey head coach Dave Smith, along with sophomore forward Matthew Grayson after their win last Saturday. And we'll talk with C Block member Joe Rutigliano about last week's Spirit Week and the disappointing losses to Niagara.
But before we do any of that, let's take you around the MAC.
That's you.
And we'll start things out with men's basketball. From Thursday and Friday's action last week, we saw two teams ahead in the Griffs. Niagara and Loyola continued their winning ways as Niagara beat Santa by 9, and Loyola beat Manhattan by 10. From the rest of the weekend's action, we had Iona beat Loyola in a battle of the two teams right ahead of the Griffs in the standings, and Manhattan beat Ryder in a battle of the two teams right below the Griffs in the standings. The MAC standings now look like this. Niagara is in first place with a record of 9-1, followed by Iona, Loyola, Canisius, and Ryder. Those are the 5 teams currently above 500% in conference play.
Let's move on to the women's side of things now. Iona beat Niagara in a close one on Thursday, while Marist blew out Manhattan by 21 points on Friday. Canisius is currently sandwiched between those two winning teams in the standings. And on Sunday, we saw a couple of upsets. 6th place Ryder beat 2nd place Fairfield by 12. 9th place Loyola pounded 3rd place Iona by 21 points, and last place St. Peter's got their first win of the season, beating Manhattan by 11. Unfortunately, the Griffs could not gain any ground as they lost as well to Niagara, so the standings remain pretty much unchanged. Marist still has not lost. They are 8-0 in conference. Right behind them are Fairfield, Iona, and Canisius, all above 500. Niagara, Ryder, and Siena also are in the thick of things, with Loyola, Manhattan, and St. Peter's bringing up the rear.
And we'll close out the segment by looking at the Atlantic hockey. On Friday, we have Niagara and RIT concluding a 3-3 tie, while Air Force shut out Robert Morris and Bentley beat Holy Cross by 3. From the rest of the weekend through Tuesday, we saw Air Force beat Robert Morris by 3, Holy Cross got their revenge against Bentley with a 2-1 victory, and Niagara beat RIT in a high-scoring 6-4 affair. Taking a look at the standings, Niagara is still running away with the conference with a record of 4-1-2. But then everybody from Air Force down to Robert Morris is still alive. All these teams have no more than 8 losses, so the home stretch of the AHC schedule should provide plenty of intriguing matchups.
Now that we've got you caught up on all the action happening around the MAC and AHC, we'll take a quick break. But when we come back, we'll have C Block's Joe Rutigliano on the show. He and I will talk about last week's Spirit Week and dissect the losses to Niagara on Sunday.
Everybody stay with us. This is hashtag Griff Sports.
So, I just moved in with this family, and it's embarrassing. The little one, he likes to go outside and crawl around in the giant litter box. I don't know what he's doing. I mean, I was born, and I knew how to use the litter box. Look at that. That's disgusting. Oh, poop already. You're making me nervous. Oh, okay, I can't look at this anymore. I really hope he grows out of this, for his sake.
Here's your check. Oh, you got it. You know, since I got rid of my car, I really enjoy walking.
Okay. God, no.
Getting pulled over for buzz driving could cost you around $10,000 in fines, legal fees, and increased insurance rates.
Oh, you're home early. You live with your mom?
That'll set your game back a few years. Buzzed, busted, and broke. Because buzz driving is drunk driving.
Welcome back. This is hashtag Griff Sports, and I'm joined now by the Secretary of C Block, Joe Rutigliano. Thanks for being with us today, Joe.
How you doing, Kyle?
Well, I'm doing good. And the first thing I want to ask you about is Spirit Week last week. Did it turn out the way that everyone in C Block kind of expected it to?
Yeah, I mean, we definitely got to kind of exhibit some more Griffin spirit. We gave away a lot of gifts to C Block members, including some Dre Beats, a TV, and we got a lot of support on the weekend. And our team, the hockey team picked up a victory, and the Niagara games weren't as successful. But still, it was a great weekend and a great week. We got a lot of people to give blood and stuff like that. So it was a great week for C-Block.
Yeah, it certainly seemed to me that everyone was excited about it, and that's an excitement that hasn't always been around the athletic programs here. Were there any changes to it that you think might be made for next year, though?
I don't think so. I think we did a really nice job. We've got some great leadership over there with our graduate assistant Scott Mosier and our president Megan Eschler, and everybody else on the e-board's great. For the most part, we changed it up a little bit this year by giving away a lot more interesting gifts and stuff like that for people to really kind of gain some more interest, get people to go to more games, stuff like that. So definitely, I think we'll continue along that road next year.
Absolutely. And you were at both games Sunday, correct?
I was at both games Sunday.
All right, well, what are your thoughts on what happened?
Difficult matchup. Niagara's first in the MAC for men's basketball, and they played well. They didn't make many mistakes. We kind of threw the game away. Maybe not threw the game away, but definitely with about 10 minutes left, the guys kind of let them back into it, I'd say. So it was kind of difficult to see that. The women, that was also a really good game. We were down for a while. The women started to come back, make it a game, but then just couldn't hold out and really chip away enough. So it was tough, but I definitely think that both games coming up, when the women and men both play at Niagara, more interesting games. I think that the men are going to come out on top. There's a lot of interesting opinions about that game. You heard Billy Barron in the press conference after the game say, he thought the game was in the grasp and they kind of lost it. So the men are going to come out and give you a rough showing and take it right to Niagara. They don't belong in first place, in my opinion. So.
Well, I completely agree, and you mentioned what Billy had said in the postgame. He said the same thing you did, that they kind of threw the game away and that was theirs to win. It shouldn't even have come down to that last-second shot that Billy threw up there. What were your thoughts on that?
Well, when Billy threw up that shot, it was incredible. My first thought was there's absolutely no way. And then when it went in, I might have blacked out, like Billy said afterwards. We just went insane. I was jumping around, screaming, yelling, celebrating, and then the bad news came. But that's basketball, and I'm glad that it wasn't a blown call. The ball was still in Billy's hands. We saw it in the replay. So the refs made a good call. It just stinks we couldn't come out on the other end of it. So really exciting weekend. There should be more people interested in Griff's basketball. They're a really talented team. 13-8, something like that. Mm-hmm. So the future's bright, and I'm excited for this weekend. We got a couple of tough games against Loyola and Iona. Yeah,
and you would certainly hope that these are signs of good things to come with this program. Now, the thing with Niagara, in the 2006-2007 athletic season, they started what's called the Battle of the Bridge, and the winner of that every year gets the Canal Cup.
Right.
Canisius has won 4 of the 6 years it's existed. And you've been here at Canisius longer than I have. Do you think that this all-sport competition adds to the rivalry?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that makes it more about all the, obviously it's an all-sport, so it makes it all about all the sports, but then you don't have to just focus on, just basketball or just, Niagara's talented at soccer, just certain sports. So now, take everybody into account, and it's honestly, I think it's one of the better things that's come out of this rivalry, and we've won 4 of the 6 years, so not anything to be too upset about right now.
No, not really. The only down spot, and let's take a look at the scoring before I get into this.
Okay.
You get 2 points for winning each basketball, soccer, and lacrosse game, 1 point for each hockey and volleyball match. 2 points go to the winner of the baseball season series, 2 to the winner of the softball doubleheader, and 2 points to the school that finishes higher in the MAC championship in both swimming and diving, cross country, and golf. Right now, Niagara is up on Canisius 10-5. For Niagara to win the cup this year, they need 17 points. For Canisius to retain it, they need 16.5. Even though Canisius is kind of in this hole right now, they still have a chance to retain the cup, don't they?
Yeah, absolutely. Last year we saw Canisius really struggle in fall sports. We didn't really win a lot of those games. And then come the winter, we still, I mean, men's basketball lost both games. Women's basketball did win one. Swimming was able to come up huge with a win there in the MAC championships. So yeah, there's definitely a possibility. Our baseball and softball teams are talented. They usually, they'll knock off Niagara. So I think that definitely there's a really good chance that we could, take the cup, or hold on to the cup, retain it. And men's basketball, with a win, a win anywhere in there, if you're trying to match it up with last year, one more a win from basketball or both basketball teams really helps us out as far as that goes. I think we're better off than Niagara is as far as it goes right now.
I agree, and you can certainly cancel out wins, and it's going to come down to probably those last couple weeks. If the men's team wins their next game, if the women's team wins their next game, all of a sudden Sunday it's completely canceled out. It doesn't matter anymore. So last question I want to ask you, going back to C Block a little bit, what events do you guys have coming up that we should be looking forward to the next couple weeks?
Well, we've got a couple events. We have first of all, we've got 2 games coming up this weekend that I mentioned earlier, Loyola and Niagara, or Loyola and Iona. And then we also have the trip. We're going to Niagara on February 10th. It's a Sunday. It's $5. There's going to be pizza, drinks, non-alcoholic beverages. Get your ticket, you get in, you get to go to the game. We've got about 50. I think 5 have already been sold, so they'll be on sale for the rest of the week. And we're also going to the MAC tournament for men's basketball, women's basketball. I went last year. It was a lot of fun. Last year we didn't have to pay any money. This year we're not sure what that's going to be yet, but we're definitely looking forward to those events. And really any game at the CAC or Buffalo State Sports Arena is great event that we need people to come out for. So
absolutely, and we definitely want to plug all those events for C Block, especially the one on February 10th going up to Niagara. They had a decent-sized student section down here. We got to take it right back up there, and then that revenge game hopefully come out with a win. So, Joe, thanks one more time for joining us today. It was a pleasure to have you, and we'll talk to you soon.
All right.
And now we'll send it to a commercial break. This is #Griff Sports.
You're on your way to meet up with friends, but you can't seem to get anywhere quickly. You don't want your friends to be annoyed, so you text. You're on your way. Five seconds is the average time your eyes are off the road while texting while driving. Make sure you get where you're going.
Hey, I'm Anderson Cooper. As a parent, you want to make sure that your child knows how to deal with bullying when they see it happening. And chances are they want to help, but they don't really know how. Teach them that the best thing to do is calmly walk away, find a teacher or other adult, and speak up. And do your part. Be that adult they can talk to and trust will listen. Join me to help stop bullying. Go to stopbullying.gov to find out more.
And welcome back. I'm joined again by my partner, Brandon Rudd. Brandon, Joe and I just talked about the Battle of the Bridge and Niagara, and now we're going to incorporate that into a game that we're going to call odds.
Yes,
I'm going to ask you, what are the odds that the Griffs retain the Canal Cup?
Well, it's been a very tough battle between these two teams with very disappointing losses against Niagara, but they have a really good chance. I really think their odds are really good. That's why I'm going to give them a 65%. Kyle, what do you give your thoughts on this?
65%, that's pretty high. But they are down 10-5 currently. And originally, my number was a little bit lower until I just talked to Joe, and he encouraged me a little bit. I'm going to put it right here at 55%. Ooh. Just a little bit lower than you, but they certainly have a chance. Don't be too discouraged by the poor showing last Sunday. Next up for you, women's basketball center Jamie Ruddle has been benched the last couple games. She was shooting about 25% from the floor. Coach Zay wanted to try to get her going. She did score 12 points against Niagara off the bench, so showing a little bit of improvement. Brandon, what are the odds that Jamie's going to continue to come off the bench? She has started every game in her career.
Well, I think it's going to be very inconsistent for her. She has been very inconsistent, been on and off throughout the whole season, so I really don't think she's going to come off the bench that much. I'm going to give this a 45%. Kyle, what do you think?
45, that's higher than even I have it. Like I said, she has started every game in her Canisius College career. I think that Coach Zay kind of just wanted to get her going. We saw good things with the 12 points against Niagara. She's going up inside a little bit tougher. My number is going to be about 30% lower. We're going to say 15% that Jamie Ruddle stays on the bench this year.
Ouch. I would not like to have that number.
Absolutely not. But the big news everywhere is Corey Conacher, who is taking the NHL by storm. Brandon, what are the odds after his success so far, 3 goals, 6 assists in 6 games, that he's the NHL's Rookie of the Year?
Well, I have to say, this guy plays with the line with St. Louis and Stamkos. I mean, 2 future Hall of Famers. He's playing for the Tampa Bay Lightning, and he's already proven that he could really score goals and provide assists. I'm going to give him a really high number of 75. I mean, this guy is really good. What do you think, Kyle?
Well, he's certainly good. I think 75 is a little bit bold, certainly. One thing I think that he has in his favor, though, with the lockout and a shortened season, a lot of teams are going to have to rely on veterans. Well, Tampa Bay is the one team that really has their rookie Corey in a huge role. I'm going to give him 65% odds on winning NHL Rookie of the Year. I think he's got a good chance of doing it. He'd be the Rookie of the Year if the season ended today. So it's certainly been encouraging.
Yeah, but can you name any other rookie who's been doing as great as him?
Well, I certainly can't, but I don't follow the NHL as much as you do.
Yeah.
Even bigger news around Buffalo. The Bills just signed a 5-year extension with the city of Toronto to play 1 home game there every season. A lot of speculation that someday they may move to Toronto. Brandon, what are the odds that the Bills ever play away from Buffalo?
Well, I think that's really impossible. I mean, they need Toronto to build up revenue for their team since they have a 10-year lease at Ralph Wilson Stadium. So I'm going to give this a big, fat 0%.
A whoppingly bold prediction from our own Brandon Rudd, 0%. Indeed. Never say never. I don't think it's going to happen, but just for the sake of angering Brandon a little bit.
Don't do it.
No, we're going to say about 10.8%. I know that's a number that's just going to make Brandon a little mad. I don't know why else I would use a decimal point. They're probably not going to move from Buffalo. Nobody here should be alarmed. But Roger Goodell does want to expand the NFL.
Oh, yeah.
Never say never. Something could happen. Sticking here with Buffalo sports, the Sabres are on a 0-4 losing streak after starting the year 2-0, famously after I declared my fandom for them. Brandon, what are the odds that it's my fault the Sabres are losing?
Well, let's take a look at the footage last week of you talking about the Sabres.
That's why right here, right now, today, I'm going to put on the Sabres hat. I'm going to say, let's go Buffalo, go Sabres, I'm Kyle Ferrara, and that's what I'm screaming.
Nice.
Now let's end.
See what you did, Kyle? See what you did? You put on a hat with the yellow slug. That's very outdated. You can't put that on. I mean, that's very outdated. What? Just why did you have to say that?
I don't really know what you're saying right now. I heard something about a yellow slug. But really, the way I see things, this can't be my fault too much. I mean, the Sabres have been losing since before I was even imagined. So I've got to say, really, 0% chance that it's my fault the Sabres are losing. Yeah. You know what? I've got a lot going for me. I'm young. I'm attractive. It is in no way my fault that the Sabres are 2-4 now. That's Buffalo.
That is a very bold statement. I give it a 99.9% that it's your fault.
Well, regardless of what the odds there are, we're 100% certain that our own Mary Kessler was able to cover the Griff's hockey game last Saturday. She was able to talk with head coach Dave Smith and sophomore forward Matthew Grayson following their win against Mercyhurst. We'll see what she was able to gather, and then we'll talk with the editor of the Griffin, Rich Lunghino.
The Golden Griffins men's hockey team took on Mercyhurst this past Saturday, winning with a score of 4-2 after a devastating loss to Bentley last weekend.
Last week it was 2 close games, and we, even though we played well, we didn't get wins. So it didn't take a lot to recover. It's just a reminder of how tight the standings are and how everybody in the league is very, very good. So we had to get back down to work and find a way to win a game, and we did that.
Practice, we had a good week of practice, worked hard, so I just came in ready today to play.
Positive things come from the right kind of pressure and desperation, and I really felt that there was a lot of pressure that our guys put on themselves, and that pressure led us to play our best hockey as the game, got closer to the end. And the third period was just the end result, but I thought we played very well and built our game up to a very high level as it progressed.
Just kind of got back to basics, kept it simple, worked on everything, and just really came in ready to play today.
I like our team's chances a lot. I think that every night you want to get points, whether it's 1 point or 2 points. You got to keep chipping away. It's going to come down to the last weekend. It's going to come down to a few points here and there, and as long as we can get points every night, then we're going to be in a good position. I thought it was a great goaltending battle. Both goalies on both teams played very well. There was moments when it was 1-0 for Mercyhurst that Capel made some great saves, and there was moments when it was 3-2 for us. He made some great saves. So I thought he gave us championship-style goaltending today. Make big saves, play with desperation, and put it in the empty net at the end. Always feels good.
Same thing as today. It'd be great to get another sweep this year, and it's going to be a huge game because I think we're tied with them or somewhere right around in standing, so it's going to be a huge game. So,
a desperate battle against a desperate team that, we got the upper hand tonight, but the teams are very, very close, and we're going to need to have a very high pressure and high desperation factor for us to come out on top.
Thanks, Mary. I'm now joined by Rich Lunghino, sports editor of the Griffin. Rich, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
No problem. It's good to have you here. Now, that video is from the game on Friday. The Griffs played again on Tuesday, falling to Mercyhurst 5-2. A bit of a reversal from the game on Saturday. This time, it was the Griffs who were up 2-1 going into the third period before Mercyhurst took it away. They've now lost 3 of their last 4 games, Rich. What's the state of the Griffs right now?
They're kind of in the state they usually are. They're kind of a middling team right now. They're still trying to find their identity. However, over the weekend, their power play did start to click finally. Chris Rumble, I talked to Dave Smith today, and he said Chris Rumble at the point has really made a huge difference. Freshman Ralph Kademi scored 2 power play goals, so I think that part of their game is starting to come around. But they're still trying to find who they are, and in Atlantic hockey, there's a lot of parity in the league, so any team can win any given night. So, I mean, it's not to say that they can't make a good push here at the end of the season here.
Certainly, and we'll talk about that parity in just a second, but you kind of mentioned how they've been improving on the power play. Tell me a little bit about the strengths and weaknesses for this team.
Big strength for this team all year long has been defense and their goaltending. Tony Capobianco, who's been the starter for the Griffs all year, he's put up amazing statistics and not nearly enough wins that he should be. Same thing with Keegan Osmondson, who stepped in relief once in a while. He's been performing pretty well. And just the D-core in general, Ben Parker, Chris Rumble, a couple other guys, Ben Danford, they've been really solid in their own end. Griffs are still struggling scoring goals sometimes, although this past weekend, their win, they did score like 5 goals. So I think that part of the game is still starting to come around there. So
I would agree. And now let's get to that parity aspect you mentioned. There's a lot of teams bunched up. All but 3 have 5 to 8 losses on the season. Niagara's on top, though. They're 14-1-2 in AHC play. Are they the clear favorite to win this conference?
I think they are. No one's really been able to dent Carson Chubak and their defense thus far. They have a really deep, solid team. The game they played here earlier in the season, I mean, Canisius kept it close to them. It was a 2-1 loss, but I really think Niagara's taking a stranglehold on the conference, and it's going to be tough to unseat them in first place there.
What about the rest of those teams? As I mentioned, all 5 to 8 losses. Where do the Griffs stack up with them?
I think they have a chance to beat all of them. I mean, they beat RIT earlier this year pretty handily in their building. Holy Cross, the Griffs have had some trouble with them. Mercyhurst, same thing. But it's really any game can be anyone's game. So, I mean, there's no reason they can't move up.
Well, and that's what should make it so interesting down the stretch, is that all these should be entertaining games. Let's switch gears a little bit now and talk about the player who is taking the nation by storm, Corey Conacher of the Tampa Bay Lightning. Did you expect him to be so successful in the NHL?
I would say I was very surprised that he is this successful. Watching him for 4 years, I thought he'd be, if he did make the NHL, he'd be kind of a Nathan Gerbe type player. I mean, smaller guy with a lot of heart that can muck it up in the corners and maybe chip in once in a while, but definitely not to the extent that Corey's been putting the puck in the net. So I was definitely very surprised. I was very surprised he scored in his first game of all things. So
yeah, that was pretty amazing. It's great to have that publicity for Canisius. Do you think he could be the NHL's Rookie of the Year?
I think he has a very good chance. I mean, I think he's top 3 I mean, he's second place in rookie scoring, either second or first, with Vladimir Tarasenko of the Blues. So I think right now it's up between him and Tarasenko for Rookie of the Year. I think Grigorenko for the Sabres has to score a little bit more to be in consideration for that, but I think Corey has a very good chance of winning that award. It
would definitely be great for him, for Canisius, for all of his fans out there. Now let's take a look at our Golden Performer of the Week. We do this every week, and this week it is Chris Manhertz for his career-high 17 points against Niagara to go along with 15 rebounds. He's really been the unsung hero of this team so far, and look for him to be on our show next week. But Rich, what are your thoughts on Manhertz?
I think he's really come into his own with this team and the new coach. I think Billy Barron right now would be the MVP of the team, but Manhertz would be a close second. I mean, he's really dominant in the paint, using his size very well, and he's outperforming taller guys like Asperia and Heath. So I think he's having a great year this season.
He absolutely is. He's definitely been the surprise on this team. Well, thanks, Rich, for joining us. We always appreciate the insight.
All right, thank you very much.
Coming up, Brandon and I will take a look at what's ahead for the Griffs. For now, you're watching #GriffSports.
So, I just moved in with this family, and it's embarrassing. The little one, he likes to go outside and crawl around in the giant litter box. I don't know what he's doing. I mean, I was born and I knew how to use the litter box. Look at that. That's disgusting. Oh, poop already. You're making me nervous. Oh, okay, I can't look at this anymore. I really hope he grows out of this, for his sake.
Welcome back. This is #GriffSports. Brandon, we'll get to That's What I'm Screaming in just a second, but first, let's take a look at what's coming up this weekend for the Griffs.
Men's basketball gets the weekend started as they're just over a half an hour away from tip-off against Loyola at the CAC.
Women's basketball begins their road trip in Poughkeepsie on Friday as they take on Marist before heading over to play against Manhattan.
Hockey looks to get back on the win column as they have a home and away series with Holy Cross, a team just ahead of them in the AHC standings. And synchronized swimming will compete in the Canisius Invitational right here in the CAC. We'll have a report on them next week. Now let's go over to Kyle for his rant titled, That's What I'm Screaming. Kyle?
Well, thanks, Brandon. And there's certainly been a lot of outrage here regarding the Bills playing in Toronto. As of yesterday, it was the most outrageous, most noise I've heard Buffalo fans making since just 3 weeks ago during the NHL lockout. Certainly a lot to be angry about here, but let me tell you right now, let's just relax for a little bit. Brandon and I both talked about it in odds. There's a very small chance the Bills are ever going to move to Toronto. They are Buffalo's team. They are going to stay here for a long, long time. They've got that 10-year lease with Ralph Wilson Stadium. Look, everybody settle down. It's good for the game. It gets it in Toronto. And you know what? It's only an hour and a half away. If you want to go see the team, that's not that far. Heck, I live an hour away from Cleveland Brown Stadium in Cleveland. It's an extra 30 minutes. I think we all can do it. And look, if it's really that bad over there in Toronto, don't go. Stay in your living room. Enjoy the game from there. Truth be told, that's better than going to the game. And eventually the NFL will say, hey, look, nobody is going to watch these guys in Toronto. Let's scrap it. You'll get your 8th home game back. It'll all be okay. So let's all simmer down. And for today, I'm not screaming. I'm bringing us all to a silent whisper over something that shouldn't be that huge of a deal.
Well, as a Buffalo Bills fan, I think I have to disagree with that. I mean, not everybody's overreacting. I mean, Toronto actually does help us out in revenue and keeps us here. That's why we signed a 10-year lease. And besides not going to the game, people need to go to the game. Roger Goodell wants Buffalo Bills to be the gateway for Canada to be in the NFL and help boost their revenue all around the NFL. So I think it's a pretty good job.
Well, and it certainly could be worse. Being from Cleveland, the team that very well should be Cleveland's own, the Baltimore Ravens, of course, the Browns moved there in 1995, are playing in the Super Bowl this Sunday. Should they win, it'll be their second Super Bowl since leaving the city of Cleveland. I can tell you that's a heck of a lot worse than having one game an hour and a half up north, even if it is in Canada. Thanks, everybody, for joining us today. We'll be back next week, Thursday at 6, right here on Channel 19.
Tweet us at GriffSports_19.
This has been #GriffSports.
See you then.